Most people believe they are weak because of their past, their failures, their enemies, or their circumstances. That is a lie. Your real problem is simpler and far more dangerous. You are standing in places that are quietly destroying your power, not with violence, not with confrontation, but with slow, invisible erosion. By the end of this video, you will know the 7 most dangerous places that drain your confidence, weaken your influence, sabotage your decisions, and quietly shape you into someone you were never meant to become. And more importantly, you will learn how to escape them before they claim you completely. Most people think power is something they build inside themselves, through motivation, discipline, intelligence, confidence. And while those things matter, they are not the foundation of power. They are only its expression. The true foundation of power is environment. Where you stand, what you breathe every day, what surrounds your mind, what voices enter your ears, what energy touches your nervous system. This is the invisible architecture shaping everything you become. You are not merely influenced by your environment. You are being engineered by it. This is the mistake almost everyone makes. They try to become strong while standing on weak ground. They try to build confidence inside rooms designed to drain it. They try to grow in places that profit from keeping them small. And then they wonder why they feel exhausted, confused, unmotivated, and internally divided. Machiavelli understood this with terrifying clarity. A ruler never asks only who he is. He asks where he is. Because location is not geography. Location is influence. Location is psychology. Location is power structure. You could have the sharpest mind and the strongest heart, but if your environment is misaligned, your power will leak out of you every single day without you noticing. Think about this. Your environment decides what feels normal, what feels possible, what feels allowed, what feels ridiculous, what feels dangerous. If you stay long enough in any environment, it rewires your sense of reality. That is not philosophy, that is neuroscience. Your brain adapts to whatever it repeatedly experiences. If you are surrounded by small thinking, hesitation becomes logical. If you are surrounded by chaos, clarity becomes uncomfortable. If you are surrounded by mediocrity, excellence begins to feel like arrogance. And the most dangerous environments are not openly hostile ones. They are the comfortable ones, the friendly ones, the familiar ones. The places that do not attack your power directly, but slowly convince you that you never needed much of it anyway. This is how empires collapse. This is how kings fall. This is how strong people become harmless. Your mind is constantly taking instructions from the space you inhabit. Every sound, every conversation, every image, every routine, every interaction is either sharpening your edge or dulling it. You do not rise to your potential. You sink to your environment's standards. Machiavelli would never advise a prince to reform a corrupt city before relocating his command. First you change the ground, then you change the people, then you change the future. Yet modern men and women attempt the opposite. They try to change themselves while staying loyal to the same rooms that made them weak. Look closely at your daily surroundings. Do they demand strength from you or comfort? Do they provoke your thinking or sedate it? Do they challenge your discipline or reward your excuses? Because environment is not neutral. It is either training you for dominance or rehearsing you for submission. And here is the part most people do not want to accept. You are not a victim of your environment. You are a participant in it. Every time you stay in a place that shrinks you, you give it permission. Every time you return to a conversation that poisons your ambition, you renew the contract. Every time you accept a routine that numbs your potential, you sign away another portion of your future. Powerful individuals are ruthless about one thing above all else: their surroundings. They curate their environment with the same precision a general chooses his battlefield. They know that discipline is easier when the room is designed for it. Focus is easier when the noise is eliminated. Growth is inevitable when the atmosphere demands it. Weak individuals beg for motivation. Strong individuals redesign their environment. This is not about moving cities or abandoning everyone you know. This is about understanding that every room you walk into is programming you. Every place you spend time in is voting on who you become. And if you do not consciously choose your environment will unconsciously choose your destiny. The most dangerous enemy you face is not outside of you, It is the invisible atmosphere you are standing in every day without questioning it. Most people believe power is something that can be protected simply by having strong boundaries, a firm mindset, and clear goals. They believe that if they just stay focused and don't let anyone affect them, they will remain in control. But that belief is dangerously incomplete, because power does not only respond to what you think, power responds to what you allow near you. Who you keep close is not a social choice. It is a strategic decision that quietly determines the quality of your future. Every person you allow consistent access to your life is shaping you, not symbolically, not emotionally, structurally. Their language seeps into your thinking, their fears bleed into your nervous system, their habits press themselves into your routine, their standards quietly rewrite your own. This is not about weakness, it is about human wiring. We are social creatures whose minds synchronize with the people around us. The longer the proximity, the deeper the synchronization. Machiavelli understood that the inner circle of a ruler was more dangerous than his enemies. Enemies sharpen your vigilance, companions dull it. When someone stands close enough to you long enough, they gain influence without asking for it. They no longer need to persuade you. Their presence itself becomes persuasion. This is why proximity is permission. The moment you allow someone constant access to your time, your attention, your energy, your private thoughts, you grant them authority over the direction of your life. Not openly, not dramatically, but slowly, invisibly, through thousands of tiny adjustments you do not even notice you are making. You begin editing your language, softening your ambition, rescheduling your discipline, lowering your standards, choosing comfort over growth, because the people nearest to you make growth feel inconvenient. And the most dangerous part is that none of this feels like betrayal. It feels like loyalty. It feels like being nice. It feels like being understanding. But what it truly is self-abandonment. Powerful individuals are not heartless. EY are strategic. They understand that intimacy without alignment is sabotage. They understand that not everyone deserves access to their inner world. They understand that just because someone is familiar does not mean they are safe, and just because someone is kind does not mean they are constructive. The people closest to you will either reinforce your strongest identity or slowly dissolve it. Listen carefully to the conversations around you. What do they revolve around? Complaints or solutions? Excuses or execution? Fear or expansion? Over time, your mind begins to mirror what it hears most often. Your future bends toward the beliefs that surround you. If your environment whispers doubt, your courage becomes fragile. If your circle celebrates stagnation, your ambition starts to feel like betrayal. If your proximity is filled with people who avoid discomfort, your tolerance for pressure weakens. Machiavelli would say that a leader must never allow those near him to grow too comfortable, too entitled, or too influential, because influence given freely is rarely returned intact. The same applies to your life. When you let the wrong people linger too close, they do not just observe your journey, they redirect it. And here is the truth most people avoid. You cannot grow beyond the psychological gravity of your closest relationships. You may temporarily outwork it, you may temporarily outrun it, but eventually the pull will drag you back to its level. This is why rising often feels lonely, because the moment you start changing your direction, you begin outgrowing your previous proximity, and that creates friction. Guilt, doubt, resistance. But those emotions are not warnings. They are signs of transition. Proximity is permission. Who you allow near you is who you become. And if you are not where you want to be in life, one of the most honest questions you can ask yourself is this: who has the closest access to my world right now? And what future does their presence naturally create inside me? Most people believe power disappears in dramatic moments. One great failure, one devastating loss, one public humiliation, one irreversible mistake. They imagine collapse as something loud and sudden, but real collapse is silent. Real collapse is invisible. Real collapse happens slowly, quietly, through tiny daily compromises that feel harmless in the moment and catastrophic only in hindsight. Power does not shatter, it leaks. This is why most people never recognize when they are losing it. There is no alarm, no warning siren, no clear line where strength turns into weakness. Instead, there is 1,000 small decisions, one excuse here, one delay there, one uncomfortable truth avoided, one discipline abandoned, one standard lowered, one boundary softened, one dream postponed. one confrontation escaped. None of them seem fatal. Together, they become surrender. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He did not fear sudden enemies nearly as much as gradual erosion. Because empires rarely fall from direct invasion. They decay from within. Corruption, indulgence, complacency, indecision, and moral fatigue rot the structure long before any enemy needs to strike. Your personal power follows the same law. Every time you choose comfort over character, a leak opens. Every time you choose approval over authenticity, another leak forms. Every time you ignore your intuition to avoid discomfort, the pressure drops. Every time you remain silent when you should speak, something essential escapes you. And because the loss is gradual, your mind adjusts. You normalize the weakness. You rationalize the compromise. You tell yourself you are being patient, practical, flexible, realistic. But what you are really doing is trading long-term authority for short-term relief. This is how strong people become unrecognizable to themselves. The most dangerous leaks are not in your circumstances, they are in your self-respect. The moment your standards decline, your power begins to drain. The moment your promises to yourself stop mattering, your inner command weakens. The moment your words lose alignment with your actions, your authority fractures. You feel it as fatigue, as confusion, as restlessness, as loss of direction, as dullness where fire once lived, but you do not always connect the feeling to its cause. Machiavelli warned that leaders who grow too tolerant of small weaknesses invite massive downfall. The same principle governs your life. Weakness tolerated becomes weakness multiplied. Indiscipline ignored becomes indiscipline embedded. Self-betrayal repeated becomes identity. And the worst part is this: no one else sees it happening. To the outside world, you may look functional, successful, responsible, normal. But inside, you know something is off. You no longer trust yourself the way you once did. You hesitate more, you doubt more, you overthink more. Your decisions feel heavier. Your confidence feels borrowed. Your energy feels scattered. That is power leaking. Power is not just dominance over others, it is command over yourself. And self-command erodes when your internal structure loses integrity, when your principles bend too often, when your discipline becomes negotiable, when your word to yourself becomes optional. This is why rebuilding power is not about motivation. It is about sealing the leaks. It is about restoring your standards, reclaiming your boundaries, realigning your actions with your values, making your inner voice reliable again, reteaching yourself that your promises matter. Because once your internal authority is restored, your external presence follows naturally. Power is not what people see. Power is what you do when no one is watching. Power is what you tolerate. Power is what you protect. Power is what you refuse to abandon inside yourself, even when it would be easier to let it go. Most people drift through life, reacting to whatever environment, circumstance, or opportunity happens to appear in front of them. They believe life is something that happens to them, rather than something they position themselves inside of. They wait for clarity. They wait for motivation. They wait for confidence. They wait for the right moment. But the strategic mind does not wait. The strategic mind chooses. Machiavelli taught that power is not only about strength, intelligence, or influence. Power begins with position. Before a single move is made, before reflexes are tested, before battles are fought, the most important decision has already occurred: where you stand. Because the ground you occupy determines the options available to you, the pressure you face, the allies you attract, the enemies you provoke, and the future you make possible. This is why the strategic mind never drifts. It deliberately places itself in environments that demand growth, sharpen thinking, reward discipline, and punish weakness. It does not choose comfort, it chooses advantage. Look at the people who seem to rise again and again, no matter their starting point. They do not simply work harder. They do not rely on luck. They position themselves differently. They move towards spaces where opportunity circulates, where standards are high, where ambition is normal, where excellence is expected. Their growth is not accidental, it is engineered. Most people make the opposite choice. They choose environments that protect them from discomfort, from judgment, from from responsibility. They build their lives around emotional safety rather than strategic advantage. And while safety feels good in the short term, it quietly suffocates the future. The strategic mind understands something that few are willing to accept. Growth requires exposure. You must expose yourself to higher standards, sharper minds, stronger competition, greater expectations. You must place yourself in rooms where you are not the strongest, not the smartest, not the most confident, not the most comfortable. Because that pressure is not punishment, it is training. Machiavelli warned rulers never to remain in territory that weakens their position. They must move, adapt, reposition, expand. The same principle governs personal power. You cannot stay loyal to environments that no longer serve your evolution. Loyalty to stagnation is self-betrayal. Choosing your ground is not about arrogance. It is about survival of your highest potential. Every stage of your life demands a new terrain. The environment that built you at one level will eventually become the cage that prevents your next transformation. And this is where most people hesitate. They fear leaving the familiar. They fear disappointing others. They fear uncertainty. They fear standing alone. But the strategic mind understands that comfort is not a compass, fear is not a warning, and familiarity is not destiny. You do not rise to the level of your dreams. You fall to the level of your environment. This is why deliberate positioning changes everything. The moment you choose to spend your time around people who challenge you, your thinking evolves. The moment you enter spaces where discipline is expected, your habits sharpen. The moment you place yourself where growth is demanded, your identity begins to shift. The strategic mind does not complain about its circumstances, it redesigns them. It does not argue with reality, it relocates within it. It does not beg for opportunity, it moves where opportunity lives. Every powerful transformation in history began with a shift in ground. New cities, new alliances, new surroundings, new structures, new rules. The same applies to you. If you want a new future, you must choose new territory. If you want new outcomes, you must change your position. If you want new power, you must stand on new ground. Your current environment is not your fate, it is your choice, until you refuse to change it. Everything you have heard is not philosophy, it is a survival manual. Your power is not destroyed by enemies. It is dismantled by environment, by proximity, by invisible leaks, by poor positioning. Most people never lose their power in one dramatic collapse. They lose it slowly, politely, quietly, through the rooms they stay in, the people they keep close, the standards they abandon, and the ground they refuse to leave. You now understand the real battlefield. If your life feels heavy, unstable, unfocused, or directionless, it is not because you are broken. It is because you are standing in the wrong places. Power is not about becoming someone new. It is about returning to who you were meant to be by removing what weakens you. Choose your environment with intention. Guard your proximity with discipline. Seal the leaks in your standards and self-respect. Position yourself where growth is unavoidable. The world does not reward potential, it rewards positioning. And from this moment forward, the responsibility is yours.